Okay, we'll start. Good morning, and thank you for joining. So I think you can see the translation. How does that work? Yeah. So that's working. So you can talk to me in English if you want. If you talk to me in French, I need to translate it back the other way around. So my name is Ronnie Woodley. You probably heard me in the keynote. I was talking a little bit about AI. I do have my AI session coming up on Thursday, so I'll talk a little bit more in details. And if you have the opportunity to join, that would be great. But today, I'm going to be talking to you about zero plan downtime. So zero plan downtime was one of the capabilities we launched with Power11 back in July. Juan shared this chart early on, and basically you need to look at it. When we put Power11 together and developed the server, we started from the silicon. We went to the computing level, operating system, and hybrid cloud. Basically, what we did was we looked at how the actual CPU would be sitting on the board, right? And took care of that so that there's optimal cooling taking place in the server. The second thing we looked at is the computing hardware. How does the I/O adapters work? How does it connect to memory? And I think you know, with Power11, it supports DDR5 memory, right? So giving customers the benefit of faster processing memory. Then from an operating system perspective, the same IBM I versions and the same AIX version will run on Power11. And there's new versions that were launched thereafter. And AIX with IBM I launched a new version before Power11 launch. And then AIX will be coming up with a new version towards the end of this year. From a firmware perspective, we've seen the same thing, right? Power11 brought new firmware with new capabilities and new functions, and zero plan downtime was one of it. And for the first time in a Power launch, we made sure that on the day of launch, we had Power11 available in IBM Cloud. So IBM Cloud had Power Virtual Server available from the day of launch in July. So customers that needed to use the capabilities, you had it available on our cloud. But three things that we brought together with zero plan downtime, and I'll touch a little bit more on zero plan downtime with end-to-end automation. Less than 1 minute guaranteed ransomware detection. This is about bringing in a full stack capability on Power that touches storage, because you need storage, software, and services. So bringing the full stack of IBM together and bringing to you guaranteed ransomware detection. Now you're probably thinking, well, my storage colleague spoke to me and they spoke about the same thing. Less than 1 minute guaranteed ransomware detection, and I need IBM Fusion and I need IBM storage software. How does Power come into this play, right? And I'll spend a couple seconds here just explaining this to you, because I don't know whether that's covered this week at Power Week. To have a clean room on storage, you need a clean room for processing as well, which is where Power is. And what does Power give you the capability to do? You're going to have clean alphas, right? So what does clean alpha mean? You've got a secure environment where you're processing whilst you are trying to recover from your ransomware. So you under 1 second guarantee, but how you recover, you need the server, you need the storage, and you need the software and applications to come up together. So that's what it actually jumped up there. That's what it actually means. And then the last one is around 23% lower TCI on Gen AI. And I'll touch a little bit more on that on Thursday. But just for you to know, I mean, we had customers that do some testing for us when we launched Power11, and we released some of those statistics and information during the launch, right? We had Terminals do some tests, Pinnacle, and they actually gave us feedback. And we had some customers in Denmark actually do a test on Power10 and give us feedback in terms of that. Juan had this chart up earlier on, but I kind of look at it from a different perspective, where you look at unplanned downtime, planned downtime, and cyber incidents as part of three items that we brought together with Power11. In previous Power generations, we would have taken unplanned downtime, treated it separately, planned downtime, worked on it separately, and cyber separately. Power11 brought these capabilities together. Unplanned downtime, 6 nines availability. That translates to 0.5 seconds on it. technology. So 31.5 seconds of downtime per year. That's what customers are actually incurring in terms of unplanned downtime, which touches hardware failures, which touches software that they need to, failures that they have during the year. And then cyber incident I spoke to you about. You heard Beatrice speak about quantum enabled. So you have quantum capabilities with cyber security built into Power11 together with IBM storage, IBM services working together to give you a secure environment. Now, zero planned downtime, basically, when we started working on Power11 3 years or 4 years ago, it was many hours of collaborating with customers, business partners, ISVs, systems integrators, and the IBM team. Because customers are saying, I don't run just Power. I don't run just x86. I don't only run IBM. I run a non-IBM stuff. How do I get time to be able to run what mandatory updates you are actually dishing out or putting out every single year? If it's for the operating system, is it mandatory or is it recommended? If you're running certain applications, what are the common vulnerability exposure attached to that? And how often do I need to update it? Is it required or is it mandatory? Now you have it for Power. You might have it for storage. You might have it for your software. You might have it for your non-IBM hardware. How do you manage it? And now, speaking to customers, especially banks and other customers, getting downtime to do some of these things becomes a challenge. You know that there's a little bit much more to do on x86 because you got virus applications to update. And when you do that, you have to update some other applications, etc. And customers that have got mainframe, Power, storage, x86, non-IBM stuff, IBM stuff, who gets priority and when? So that's where zero planned downtime came into being. And we said, well, we need to take this into consideration as we speak to customers to be able to ensure that they find it easier to manage their Power environment. I'll quote you an example. I met with a customer, he's a banking customer for a couple of years. I know him for many years, actually. From his Power 8 days, he came into the Power environment. And when I sold him Power 8, he said, well, Power 8 got some nice capabilities. I like it. Power 9 was the same. Power 10, great. And with Power 11, I went to him, I said, we're launching a new server and we got all these capabilities, zero planned downtime, artificial intelligence, quantum safe, cyber. And he's like, stop. I'm like, why? He said, what you told me in Power 8, I'm still yet to see it. What you told me in Power 9, I'm still yet to see it. What you told me in Power 10, I'm still yet to see it. And now you're telling me you got more capabilities with Power 11. I don't know when I'm going to get to use these things. And then I immediately responded and I said, well, the problem is you in your company, because you are using the server as a legacy system. You're running your traditional applications, you're running traditional database and your traditional workload. You are not exploiting the server with the capabilities as we are designing it to be used. And there was another telco that I had a discussion with, and when we just launched Power 10 in 2021, it was a year thereafter, he had a few Power 8 high-end servers, 880s, and he had a few Power 9 servers high-end as well, and I was getting him to move to Power 10. And he had his entire team on the call, including the Power infrastructure manager, his application developers, etc. And he said, well, I'm going to make it simple for you, IBM. Power is legacy, Power is old, and I can't do this and I can't do that. I said, okay, if that's your opening statement, then give me an opportunity, not to defend, but to explain. I said, your team sitting on this call are the ones responsible for why you're using it traditional. Did you know you can run Linux on Power? No. Did you know you can do AI inferencing on Power? No. Did you know you can run 3 to 4x more OpenShift containers on Power? No. And did you went this long? And he said, and he asked his Power infrastructure manager on the call, well, why are we still running Oracle database on Power, running our billing application only on Power, and everything else we're doing is on x86 or in cloud? And they had no answer. Lo and behold, a few months later, he bought Power 10. So what are the top infrastructure maintenance challenges that customers experience? Complexity, as I said earlier, multiple systems. When do they get time to do the updates? And how much time it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. Business disruption, because you're not running one workload on your server. You got finance, you got HR, you got logistics, etc. And when you want to take the system down over the weekend, HR says no because they're running something. Finance says no, they're doing something. When do you get time to be able to take it down? And then the last item is around risk. How important it is to have your server running on the latest firmware or the application running on the latest level. What is that risk to you? So when you put all this together, you're thinking, well, how do I manage this? So the average annual cost of planned downtime, and this is based on having spoken to customers, as I said in the beginning, 5.6 million. Typical maintenance windows is several hours, multiple maintenance windows per year. But what's daunting and more challenging is this, because it's consuming 25 to 40% of your company resources and time, the IT team, because they have to plan for when they need to do it. They need to ask for change control slots. They need to look for maintenance windows. They need to understand the prerequisites for doing the updates, and that takes a lot of their time. So when you take that into consideration, and the previous chart I spoke about risk, you probably find in some organizations say, well, I've done this before and my server never come up. I've done this before and I had memory failure. I've done this before and my IO adapters never came up. And the reason when we go back and look at it is because the planning was a problem, because in some cases you need to have your IO level your firmware level for an IO adapter at a specific level or for the memory before you can go and update the latest patch. And once again, the same customer, the bank, he told me, well, last year he did a firmware update on his Power 10 servers and 3 IO adapters never came up. 2 came up, 3 never come up. And he's like, it became a big issue because the bank was then down. It was the production server. The message got to the CEO, and the CEO and the internal town hall basically said, this power system is a problem. We should not be running at it, blah, blah, blah. And then I explained to him, but who looked at the prerequisites and what was mandatory to be done? And this bank does not use the internal IT team to manage the environment. They've got an external service provider. Now, you know what happens with external service providers, right? They will try and do the least possible to get the most amount of money in the short space of time. So they didn't do all the prerequisites, and the customer was angry with IBM. So IT leaders no longer have to make a choice, right? In terms of no planned, application downtime, reduce what they need to do from planning and execution for doing the maintenance, and then making sure you have your infrastructure running at the current levels, because that's important for you as an organization, because that's the core of your business, right? And sometimes you'd see that clients would want to do the DR server and the QA test server before they touch their production servers to minimize the risk. So zero plan downtime was implemented in 2 ways. One is we say you can use the current capabilities that's built into the VRS of Power11. You can do some of the capabilities, human intervention, where you can do the discovery, the understanding, recommendations, and acting of the automation capabilities that are built in it with using the VRS. Or you could use IBM Concert, which is IBM software, together with the capabilities built into the HMC to be able to do the same capabilities. Now, I'll touch a little bit about just using the HMC and then using IBM Concert together with it. So IBM Concert brought the automation capabilities into it because of all the items I shared with you earlier on, things that need to be checked. It's done manually. What are the dependencies? It needs to be checked manually. What are the common vulnerability exposure in terms of the application or the software? It needs to be done manually. Concert brings the AI orchestration capability to the environment so that you can automate a lot of those manual checks, taking away time from your team. So what Concert does, it does the discover, understand, recommend, and act for you. That's what Concert, you can do all 4 of the pillars. Power11 with the built-in capability of what's in the HMC, you can do the using that capability, but a lot of the other tasks need to be done manually. And then when you look at it from a business perspective, you're going to have improved business continuity. You're going to reduce your risk, boost productivity. I mean, depending on, we would say clients would do firmware updates on Power probably 4 times a year. Some clients say they do it once a year. Some clients say they do 2, but it's still, you have to go through the whole process, right? And then how do you reduce costs to make sure that you have a easier and faster, non-disruptive environment? So what did we launch when we launched Power11 earlier this year? We launched, Concert with Power support. You can use your VIOS, automatically migrate partitions, do one source system to one target system. That was what we launched with Power11. And when you bring Power with Concert into it, you manage to the Power environment. So Concert does not run on Power. It sits on x86. That's what we launched in July. And then you'll manage the environment, right? And the use case was around vulnerability management and remediation. And what we then brought to this platform thereafter was last month we announced you would have capabilities to bring zero plan downtime with Concert to manage your AIX and Linux environment with Concert running on Power. So now you have it running on Power, okay? And what we're announcing next week on November 21st, if you follow the announcement, is there will be a specific part number for Concert for Power only. So you don't have to use all the other capabilities and functionality for standard Concert that the clients have from a software environment. If you want it for Power, now you have a specific part number just for Power. Okay, that launches next week, 21st. So IBM Concert, if you look here at the general software with all the capabilities, you can get, bring in all your systems together, x86, Power, mainframe, etc., and look at everything from a more proactive way, adapting to the custom controls of what you need to do, and then ensuring you have minimum disruption in your environment. So that's what Concert brings in total. Power brought it just to Power, so that it uses the HMC capabilities together with Concert to give you more control and automation. These are some of the dashboards that you'll actually see in terms of how Concert actually works and what it does. I have a video next that I just need to switch some technology. Give me a second, and then you could actually listen to what the demo is about. All right, so that was the demo basically showing you how Concert works and using the capabilities that's built into the firmware of Power 11. Now, you're probably thinking there, well, I got Power 10, so will it work? No, it won't, because it's built on the firmware that's sitting on Power 11, right? They are looking at capabilities around this, later on if customers are looking for it, but it'll come at a cost. And, why would a customer want to buy this capability for Power 10? Because they will be moving to the new Power version in any case. So understanding how Concert works, you have your resiliency item where you'll do your discover and understand. And from a compliance perspective, it keeps a track of everything that it's doing, and you'll do your recommend and your act from there. Now, this is the full version of Concert, not the version that's launching with Power only. And then the version that we launched in July 8th, pre-built data ingestion workflows, your Concert deployment model runs on x86, available as a SaaS. And then what we launched last month was it runs on Power. It gives you support for AIX and Linux. And then, as I said, launching next week would be a Power-only part number, right? So it all depends on the update scenario you want to look at and how you'd use, Concert together with the Joule BIOS configuration and live partition manager. If you're looking for concurrent firmware updates, if you're running Joule BIOS config, it's not required. With live partition migration, not required. There's some dependencies that needs to be taken into consideration. And for example, non-current, IO adaptive firmware updates is required if you're running Joule BIOS, and if you're running LPM, not required, right? So there's a few dependencies that you need to look at. We do have many customers that have tested it thus far, and there's a lot of customers that are doing POCs with it, and they're actually liking the capability that it's bringing to them. We actually had customers who tested it with the version that was sitting on x86 and managing Power. They also gave us great feedback, and then we had customers now testing it with the version running on Power that I actually say it gives them great capabilities. Concert itself is not free. There is a cost to it, but the Power only part number that launches next week is a little bit cheaper than the full version. It all depends on what you're looking to use it for in your organization. And when you speak to an IBM Power business partner or IBM Power seller or IBM software seller, they've got all the details that they can share with you. So that's it from a zero plan downtime capability that we brought new to the Power 11 platform, bringing in new capabilities so you, the customer, actually gets to see the value of the server instead of not just using it from a traditional perspective, but seeing more value that we bring into the platform. Do you have any questions? Not? No. Okay. So thank you. If this was great, I will be around during the break sessions. We'll be at till Thursday. I'm going to be at the Meet the Expert session tomorrow. If you've got any questions around, anything that you want to talk about Power, I am talking about zero plan downtime and artificial intelligence, but cybersecurity is the other option that I could speak to you about, or Power Virtual Server that you had Laura and Juan speak about earlier as well. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and thank you for being here with us today. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.